So my name is Friesen. I'm representing today the Canadian Immigrant Settlement Sector Alliance, CISA-ACSE, and I wanted to say a few words about this topic. I think we need to first start by managing expectations. I think it's really important to understand that community research partnership has limitations. And that individuals coming from both academic and community have very different needs for information. And that means that partnerships can be fraught with challenges and difficulties. So we've got to start with that. The other thing is, how many of you representing immigrant serving agencies commonly experience that scenario where a grad student has approached their professor to undertake a research topic for their master's. And the professor, the supervisor says, sure, yeah. Now, all you need is to find a handful of immigrants or get somebody to organize the focus group so you can validate your question and get your master's degree. And often we're the recipient of those requests. No fault of the student, but it challenges the relationship. So let's take it up 40,000 feet, in Air Canada, or 37,000 feet. What I think is missing here in the context of collaborative research is what's missing here is what's the research agenda? And how can we form a national sector-based research agenda? We have examples of this. You may not realize, but Resettlement Assistance Program service providing organizations focusing on GARs organized and pulled together a national research agenda looking at various issues pertaining to GARs in Canada. This included Quebec. We pulled this together a few years ago. We also have examples of some provinces under the provincial umbrella associations that have pulled together sector discussions to form sector-based research agendas. So before we talk about partnership, academic community partnership, I think we have to talk about what's the agenda. How do we come together based on our knowledge, working with clients on the front line? How do we develop a comprehensive national research agenda that complements the needs for us to find information around policy and program connections, but also provides future students and professors an opportunity to work more collaboratively with us? And I think that's key. We need a national research sector-based agenda. And along with that is a national research guidelines that helps us to define, for example, what is good research? How do we do it? Is it accessible and relevant? Is it academically rigorous but also applied? And how does it benefit the end user, the client, as well as our agencies? So those guidelines, it's important that they be written down, that they're concrete and consistent. Now, there has been improvements. There's been, in the times that many of us have been in the sector, there has been great improvements made. There has been, for example, resources placed aside to ensure accessibility of clients' involvement in research. The bus tickets, the child mindings, the honorariums, the food, those are all positive accessibility funds that have increasingly become known as an integral part of collaborative research in this area. Dissemination, though, it's hit and miss. We could be far more creative in the dissemination of the research that we work together on. There are examples of this. We have seen examples whereby research is translated into the client's first language, a 2-page summary. They're brought together on, the community is brought together around food or some sort of religious celebration, where the research is disseminated back to the person who gave their story for the $25 honorarium or $10 honorarium, but they could actually see how their input shaped into policy or program recommendations, that their story mattered. And so, you know, the dissemination issues are still prevalent. What I want to talk about, you know, and I call it what's old is new again. And this is the, you know, this is the fear of many of us who have been working in the sector for so long. What old is new again. 2003, through a joint community university grant called the Community University Research Partnership, a few of us in British Columbia worked with a professor at Simon Fraser University to actually, back in 2003, define the principles of collaboration. And I think that these principles hold true today. And I want to read you them. They're not in any specific order. Equitable partnerships in research design, implementation, and information dissemination. Equitable partnership and contributions that enhance capacity, ability, and knowledge of both collaborating partners. Client-centered informed consent and confidentiality assurances that include information on dissemination strategies and timelines available in a linguistically and culturally appropriate manner. Client-centered inclusiveness with comprehensive support to ensure their full participation. Participants should be recognized and compensated for the time spent. All research participants should receive linguistically or culturally appropriate information, including the research design, the plan, and the findings. The research participants' well-being should prevail over academic priorities and/or outcomes in the cases of conflict of interest, notwithstanding respect for the genuine findings of collaborative research. And the last one is the development of an environment that promotes learning for all of those involved in the research process. So that was what we came up with in 2003. And I'm not saying that in 2015 we're not meeting some of those collaborative principles of collaborative research, but I think that's important as a reminder that as we go forward in a new environment and a new federal government and potentially more resources available to look at some of these issues that we've grappled with for years, there's some key things that we could do together to be more effective. And one of them is to look back at those collaborative research principles, as well as looking at the development of a national research, a collaborative development of a national research agenda. Thank you.